ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, James Agalga, has advised the government to resolve the current crisis in Niger through a diplomatic means. According to the ranking member, the minority still stand by their previous assertion and not backing up even after the meeting between the Joint Committee of Foreign Affairs, Defense and Interior, together with the National Security Minister and the Interior Minister, to brief them on the unfolding situation in Niger.
Basically, what they did was to brief us on the unfolding situation in Niger behind closed doors. Now, I will not speak to the issues that were discussed in detail because I'm injuncted from doing so the rules were set for ourselves prior to the commencement of that meeting. And so if I were to zero in on the details, it would amount to a betrayal of the trust that we forged. But having said that, one thing was very clear. The three security ministers did not come to the joint committees of foreign affairs and defense and interior to seek parliamentary approval. That is fundamental. In any case, if they had attempted to do so, well, the joint committees wouldn't even have the capacity because the committees do not constitute parliament. And so if you really want parliamentary approval, you come before the entire house with the speaker in the chair presiding. Then resolutions can be passed appropriately. So what they did was to pass on some information to the committee. We argued. Our stance in the minority hasn't changed. We are firmly of the view that the Niger crisis ought to be resolved through diplomatic means. Through diplomatic means. We are convinced in our minds that we haven't exhausted the diplomatic option and therefore should not start a war in Niger.
Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament has assured that should government act in a haste to deploy troops to Niger without giving an ear to the minority, they will turn the government away when they come back for funding. Mr. Galga says Ghana deploying troops involves the use of money to equip the troops, which the House has to approve because Parliament controls the purse.
Fundamentally, I made the point earlier on that, look, we can talk about our international obligations and how we must be compliant and so on and so forth. But here we are talking about war. You cannot go to war without funding. Who controls the purse?
Parliament.
Parliament. So will you come back to Parliament or not? So if you act in a haste, you deploy. Wait a minute. Tomorrow, Colonel spoke about assets. You know, you need to properly equip the troops to protect their lives, all right? Will you come back to Parliament or not? If you come, is it not about the same thing? You'll be seeking for approval to be effective on the battlefield. You cure that problem if you come first. If you come back after you have defied Parliament and gone, we'll turn you away.